Welcome to another edition of Teach the Geek interviews. My name is Neil Thompson. I'm the founder of Teach the Geek. I work with technical professionals so they can present more effectively, especially in front of non-technical audiences. And you can learn more about that at teachthegeek.com. Again, that's teachthegeek.com. Today, my guest is Thomas Mazzaferro, and he's a globally recognized executive who has led AI, data, and digital transformation initiatives at several companies. And today we're going to discuss how communication gaps between technical and non-technical stakeholders can shape decision-making, trust, and business outcomes. We're also going to explore the role of storytelling, leadership, and presentation skills in helping technical professionals communicate ideas clearly and drive meaningful impact across organizations. So welcome to Teach the Geeks interviews, Thomas.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
So
Appreciate it.
you Excellent. So first question for you, Thomas, where do you see communication gaps or where do you see communication breaking down between technical and non-technical people?
I see it happen in a couple different dimensions. The first one is when you think about the non-technical folks, the business leaders, the domain experts, they all focus on the business outcome. What do they want to drive? What do they want to achieve? What is the outcome that they wanted to enable? Whether that be driving revenue growth, right? Driving efficiencies, right? Those two things combined, right? uh, Allows you to expand your EPS, earnings per share, provide shareholder value, or ability to basically improve your client experiences. In the majority of the cases, it's one of those four things. That's what a business stakeholder is focusing on doing. How to enable revenue growth, uh, expense reduction, so optimizing expenses, right? Improving EPS, or the ability to be able to enable a better experience for clients, customers, right? Do better journeys and services. Whereas the technical folks are focused on, well, how to actually achieve that? What are the actual things I need to go do, go build, go change to make that work? Now, what takes place sometimes as part of that overall journey is the technical folks get so focused on what are the requirements? How do I need to go do this? What are the specific different non-functional, functional requirements? What's the technical requirements required to be done? How do I actually operationalize it? In many cases, when they give updates or they communicate the progress, they communicate the solution, they communicate it in a way that the business leaders don't understand, which is, I'm going to do these 10 different things. It'll drive these 5 different technology solutions, which then should give you the outcome. The problem is the technology person can hit those dots. They can hit the 10 different dots and 5 outcomes. The business executive, the domain executive, doesn't have the knowledge and expertise to hit those dots like the technical person does. Their view is, when am I going to get it? When's it going to be live? And when should I see results? And if I don't see results, how are we going to change it? This has been the evolution for the last 20 years of technology between engineers, software developers, and then the business folks. In the past, I've always smiled when a technology team has said, well, I'm going to wait to get the BRD. I want to see business requirements, I want to understand it, and then go do it. Right? The problem is, in today's world, that's changing for all of us, right? Where in the past, you have to have a business team go write those BRDs out, go write the requirements, what's the domain, because the technology teams didn't have the domain knowledge. They don't know how those processes work, how the product works, how the business works. They use technology. But in today's world now, it's evolving. It's changing, right? For the first time in ever, the technology side, i.e. the engineering, i.e. the product development, the automation, is becoming more and more commoditized with vibe coding, with AI, the ability to build something on the fly, right? Using Cloud Cowork or using an automation software or whatever your tool of choice is, right? But what's taking place now is the business user, the domain user, the business executive can now type into a very seamless UI, UX interface what they want, and then what they believe the outcome is achieved in 10 minutes later and built. The problem is that it's not integrated. It's not deployed. It's not put in place yet. But like for me is the business versus the technology interaction model is evolving again, where no more is going to be giving the requirements and have the technology team go develop it. I think it's going to be evolving even more so now, where the business leaders are actually going to start developing their own and then handing it over to the technology team saying, now go integrate, now go make enterprise hardened, go build resiliency and put it in place. And that's going to change the game for many, many technologists going forward, where the traditional software development is going to stop and see more of an integration and then hardening. Does that make sense? Thoughts
Oh,
there?
oh yeah, it makes total sense, Thomas. I mean, something that you said when you were speaking really spoke to me. It was the idea of connecting the dots and the technical people easily connecting the dots because this is what they do on a daily basis. They're the ones that develop those specifications to then connect those dots to, you know, theoretically provide the product that the business people want. And but then this idea that the business people can naturally connect the dots too because the technical people can, it's an unreasonable expectation because the technical people had to go to school and take on these roles to be able to know how to connect those dots. And then you're expecting these business people who didn't go to the school at least to study that and then don't have these technical roles. Why would you even expect them to be able to connect those dots? Because another thing is, as a technical person, you couldn't always connect those dots. You had to go through something to be able to connect those dots, and those other people didn't. So just be having you as a technical person think that these other people, well, why did they not get it? It's like you wouldn't have always gotten it if you didn't do what you had to do.
Bingo. And it's interesting. I think the mental shift is in many places, right? Because the business executives are giving direction. I want to go build and prioritizing the backlog to the technology team. Sometimes the engineers, software people feel that they are then at a higher level than they are. Therefore, they should know everything, right? But in reality, it's not that, right? It's different. And by the way, I loved how you laughed there because that's spot on. Like that's the mentality shift. But actually, it's not. It's just very different skill sets, right? And exactly to your point, that business leader, that domain expert, didn't go to school to learn how to do software. Didn't go to school to learn how to engineer. They went to school to learn how to do M&A, to learn how to do right finance or accounting or legal or whatever that domain was, right?
Right.
And now they're actually helping to build the bridge, the technologists to go build, but the technology, because they're giving the direction, they should know it all. And therefore, to have to go explain it to them sometimes meets different personalities.
Yeah, I laugh because hopefully, I wasn't this type of engineer, but I definitely recognize it in other people. Like we could be a pretty arrogant bunch, especially, a lot of us, we get these degrees from these schools, these engineering degrees, and then we enter the workforce. And then I think over time, at least, if not right away, we recognize that an engineer could take on any role, really. I mean, they could work in finance, they could work in product development, they could work in, fill in the blank, but it can't go the other way around necessarily. You won't see a finance person working as an engineer, but an engineer, someone with an engineering degree can and do work in finance. So it does sometimes give you this elevated sense of self. I definitely can see that. But I mean, ultimately, you got to work with people, and you having this elevated sense of self is that if that is blocking the development of whatever the company is trying to develop, then that's something you probably should get rid of as soon as possible.
Well, to your point, it's a team sport, right? Running a business is a team sport, right? Running a department is a team sport, right? Having to collaborate in a cross-functional way is a team sport. And you need to work as a team. And by the way, not everyone has the same skill sets. Everyone has their own specific gaps. So how do you actually fill those gaps in and work as a comprehensive unit? That's the tough thing to do. And the hard thing is that depending on who you partner with and who you work with, those gaps differ. So how do you change your mentality to shift your skill sets to meet the other person where they are?
Yeah, and ultimately you would want somebody to be able to do that for you in in reverse because they're engineers don't know despite what they may think, they don't know everything. There's been instances where you've been in a meeting or you've been listening to someone and as an engineer you don't understand what they're saying and you would hope that they would meet you where you are. So just return the favor when the shoe's on the other foot. I 100% agree. So Thomas, I'm curious to get your thoughts on this now. As a technical person, a lot of times we're not the first to put up our hand to go give a presentation in front of people. It's not something that a lot of us focus on in school, and maybe we think that that's someone else's job. But if we are in that position where we have to present in front of people, and we're presenting to people with differing backgrounds. We're presenting to technical people, we're presenting to business people and everyone in between, and they're all in the audience. How would you go about doing that?
So, love the question. Hard question to answer. I would say it depends. I'll tell you why I'm saying that. The first question is, what is the meeting about? Is it to give a typical progress update on the project? Is it to talk about the results that are being achieved? Is it to talk about a business strategy that technology can enable? The reason why I'm saying that is, to me, it's not so much who's in the meeting, it's what's the meeting trying to achieve. Because that's how you should then craft the messaging around what you want to update to. The second piece is do what you're good at and outsource what you're not good at. So what do I mean by that? If you're a technologist and you know it really well, write the PowerPoint document or write the Word document, the script, as you would. How would you talk about it? How would you present? We all now have tools and technology to help us in our jobs, whether that be a ChatGPT, a Gemini, a Perplexity, a Claude, I can go on and on. We all have technology tools to help us, like truly be a co-pilot with us in our day-to-day lives. What it comes to is use it, leverage it. Say the prompt. I am not a business strategist or a business leader, but I need help converting this messaging into a business strategy, focusing on X, Y, and Z to drive the outcome of A, B, and C for this meeting. Help me recraft the messaging. Help me recraft the storyline. Help me recraft the visuals to get that across so it lands with my audience. My audience is the CEO, the CFO, the COO, the business line president, whoever it may be. Use those tools to complement you. Right? Everyone has their own expertise and skill sets. Use those for what you're good at. What you're not, leverage the technology and tools that you have to help you complement those gaps. So then you can frame the messaging and frame the content to then deliver the right outcome in the meeting to deliver the right messaging to your corresponding audience. That's how I would think about it. Right? That way you can allow you to be craft it and modify it depending on the situation and what you want to achieve.
That's an excellent idea, Thomas, and it's one that I've contemplated. Well, not just contemplate. It's one that I've used myself. Now that we have generative AI and these various platforms, we have no excuse really to think that we have these technical concepts, and sure, as technical people, we understand them well, but the people in the audience may not, but we're not the best at putting them in a way that they can understand. And it takes a lot of time for us to figure out, well, they may not understand this word, but what word could I use instead? Well, let generative AI figure that out. So yes, using the prompt to help you in developing a talk that can be understood by the people that are in the audience. I think that's really smart. Is that something you've done?
100%. I do it quite often. I actually have agents running for me today that look at my calendar, understand who I'm talking to because of the calendar invite has the attendees, does a public research for me on the attendees, creates a persona for the attendees, determines what the attendees would want to hear based upon the title of the actual meeting, recommends to me topics to bring up and discuss with that corresponding person, and how I should frame it based upon their background and persona for every single meeting.
Wow.
But think about it, right? It allows me to automate my preparation for every meeting and to customize my messaging and my content based upon who's in the meeting. Because it would be impossible for me to know everybody in the world. No one could do that. But using technology that can research who you're actually talking to, what interests them, where's their mind at, What are they last posted on LinkedIn or done a publication on or done a speaking engagement on? What are they, if you have an internal chat feature, what are they talking about? What are they thinking about? Those things become very valuable because it allows you to then craft messaging concepts that would then land well with an audience.
Yeah, and you don't have to do as much assuming because I mean before generative AI, I mean, you just had to think, well, okay, the CEO, CTO, COO are going to be in the audience. Maybe I can get some time with them to see what they think about my presentation or what needs to be in the presentation for it to be of interest to them. But that might not be easy. These are busy people, and I'm sure a lot of people want to talk to them. So that might be out of the question. But so now what am I supposed to do is perhaps make a bunch of assumptions as to what they already know and then get up there and then realize those assumptions were 100% incorrect. Now I'm getting a whole bunch of questions after the presentation, or maybe even during. They might even interrupt you. And if you were nervous about giving a presentation already, being interrupted by a CEO during a presentation certainly is not going to help matters. So I fully accept and applaud your point about extensively using generative AI to help you in crafting a presentation that could be useful to people. I'm curious also to get your thoughts on this, Thomas. You know, when I first started giving presentations, I did Toastmasters at some point, and
Mm.
in Toastmasters, they really like to impress upon us the importance of storytelling during a presentation. But I was giving technical presentations at work, and I thought, what's the usefulness of storytelling? But eventually, I saw it. You know, it took some time, but I'm curious to get your thoughts on how important do you think storytelling is in technical people giving presentations?
I think it's extremely important. Extremely important. Uh, here's here's what I do. Many of us have not been trained to do storytelling, right? We're trained on concepts or capabilities or tooling or domains. But think about the classes that you took, elementary school, high school, college. Was any class called Storytelling 101 or Storytelling 201? Of course
No,
not, right?
no.
Because we all laugh at that because it sounds funny. But yet, when you think about the business world, you think about experience post education, storytelling is a really important part of anything that you do, whether it be at work, whether it be with your family, whether it be with your kids to teach them. Storytelling is actually really important because it helps them either understand the concepts in a seamless and in a clear way, helps people stay motivated, stay in tune with what you're talking about in the position itself. Those things are really key concepts. But then, no one taught us how to do that. But yet, there are frameworks out there today that actually help you do this. So similarly, like what I do a lot is I will go and research or I will go and create concepts and topics that I want to present on or I need to present on as an update. I'll put those in a PowerPoint document or a Word document. I'll load that into my favorite Gen AI solution. And I'll say, use these storytelling frameworks. Pick the ones that you like the best. There's probably 5 or 6 out there today that are really well. They're done in the industry. Say, based upon this framework, recraft the messaging, recraft the storyline, recraft the PowerPoint presentation using the content I provided based upon a storytelling framework of X, Y, and Z. And you will be amazed. What it will do for you is it will take what you've already done, the hard work, which is the concepts, which is the progress update, which is your hard work, and it will put it into a storyline that you can use to tell that story, articulate the journey and the strategy in a way that would be extremely hard for you to do manually. But yet you just did it in 5 minutes. Understanding how to use a true AI copilot to help you do that. And I think that it's just the tools that you have at your disposal. It's just how do you use it to make you perform better? How do you use it to get the messaging across better, the concepts better, right, to your audience?
Wow, man, you must be real busy on with generative AI whenever it comes time to give a presentation. And hey, kudos to you for even thinking of the usefulness of it. I don't think I was giving a presentation, a month or so ago, and I mentioned the usefulness of generative AI, and many of the people that attended the presentation afterwards had said that that's something they had never even thought to do. But I said, hey, now that we have it, there's really no excuse for us to wet the bed giving these presentations because of us not understanding what people needed in the audience, because we could have done a whole essentially audience analysis based on using generative AI. We could have, as you mentioned, you built out a story using this a storytelling framework using generative AI. It's really now all we got to do is just become more comfortable just being in front of people and speaking and trying to keep the flop sweat under wraps.
There you go. So I'm curious. So back to your comment about using Gen AI and using it a lot. How many tokens do you use a month? Do you know?
No clue.
So I think it's important, right, to take a look at that. And you can find that under your usage per month or per week for what you're using. To put it into content here, or context, excuse me, I use about 200 million tokens a month,
Jeez. Okay.
right? Because I use it to truly be a assistant and a co-pilot to me in my personal life and work life. Well, I use 200 million tokens a month. So the question becomes like, how do you think about using it to truly be that co-pilot, to truly be an assistant to you, to truly help you scale, right? I had a boss once tell me that today will be the slowest day of your career, the rest of your life. Every day from here on out will get faster because that's technology. Technology will continue to evolve. You will continue to get pushed by your leadership team, by companies, by the market to go faster, to scale faster. So how do you take a step back? How do you rethink about how you operate? Build some new automation, build some new solutions, and then help you scale going forward. If you always put in the context that tomorrow will always be a bit faster than today, how do you do that without spending more hours at the job? Right? If you're always being asked to do more with less, which by the way has been a common thing for any company for the last 40 years, hasn't changed. Right? How do you do more with less without giving them more time of your day?
Yeah, yeah. I think you're absolutely right. Now that the AI is here, and that drum beat's only going to get louder and more frequent. That's for sure. You- I'm curious to get your thoughts on this one too, Thomas. Let's just say you know of a technical person. Maybe they're early on in their career, and they think to themselves, I was brought into this role or into this company to take on this technical role. And the idea of communicating effectively with others isn't something that I should prioritize. Let that be someone else's job. What would you say to that person?
I would say you are creating your own glass ceiling. If you are unable to communicate effectively and appropriately, then you will not continue to advance in your career. You just won't. And by the way, if you're okay with that, then no big deal. But if you want to continue to learn, continue to advance in your career and so forth, then you have to invest in yourself. I always tell a number of my teams and my employees that the best investment you make in your life isn't in a stock or an ETF or an option or in any investment vehicles, actually in yourself. Every investment in yourself compounds across your life. And if you're, when you reflect, and you say, I don't need to be good at this, you're just saying that I don't want to spend time working on myself. And that to me means you're not investing in yourself to get better every day. But yet, if you do that, you need to compound your opportunity for your career and your life every day as you go forward.
100%, Thomas. And you could, as you said, you could be that technical person who says this is someone else's job. This is not something I need to prioritize. But then don't be surprised you're seated in your cubicle at work and you find out that so and so got the promotion or the opportunity you thought you deserved, but because you didn't think that communicating, especially with decision makers, was something that you needed to get better at. And who knows, maybe this other person, they weren't as qualified for the role as you are, but they got it because they were out there, they were visible. A great way to become visible is to be an effective communicator, especially when it comes to communicating with the people who can put you in those positions and give you those opportunities. And just don't be complaining about venting and stewing because you weren't willing to, as you said, invest in yourself. I 100% agree. This has been a great conversation, Thomas. Thanks so much for being a guest. How can people get in touch with you?
So I'm on LinkedIn. Feel free to take a look there. I do have my personal email, my cell phone number on my LinkedIn as well. But feel free to reach out anytime. And then, as you think about evolving in your career, I would say focus on yourself. How can you better yourself? How can you be able to put your best foot forward every day? And it's always interesting when someone says, "Well, how do I go from X to Y over this period of time? How do I become this person?" I would say it's about improving 1% every day. If you improve 1% every day, that compounds significantly. If you stop improving every day, well, guess what? So does your improvements. So focus sometimes internally, self-reflect on what's going well, what's not. If things are not, pivot, modify, adjust. And by the way, sometimes that means you'll be uncomfortable. That's okay. Being uncomfortable means that you're growing. Right? I've always told my teams, how do you change your mentality to be comfortable being uncomfortable? Start being comfortable every day where you put yourself in situations where you're having to learn, having to adjust, having to grow. It will make your body and your mind feel uncomfortable because what? That's when you change. That's when you evolve and you grow. That's what you should be focusing on going forward.
Absolutely. Well, everyone, that marks the end of another edition of Teach the Geek interviews. My name is Neil Thompson. I'm the founder of Teach the Geek. I work with technical professionals so they can present more effectively, especially in front of non-technical audiences. And if you want to learn more about that, you can go to teachthegeek.com. Again, that's teachthegeek.com. Until next time, take care and stay safe. Thanks. Thanks, Thomas.
Thank you.